Good, good.
Awesome. Can you hear us well?
Yeah, no problem. Am I
Okay.
okay coming through?
Yeah, perfect. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with us today. We really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Where you're sitting at the moment looks incredibly beautiful.
Beautiful background.
Yeah, it's at my home in Wales, so we're looking over the English countryside in the distance and the English Channel,
How
and my
lucky
Wow.
are
donkeys
you?
probably in the back.
Oh,
Yes.
beautiful. There they are. It kind of looks like our background, except as a painting.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, we ordered the books you gave us. We have them here with us. Murad was reading Who Moved My Cheese, and I started to read The E-Myth. They're fantastic, so thank you for that recommendation.
Brilliant, brilliant.
They're really good. All right, Kevin, just for a really quick background, basically what we're doing is we created Who Thinks Can, which is a platform where young people can educate themselves on the basics of money. So it starts off with saving, then it goes on to budgeting, and then later on into investing. And so it's basically where someone can go on and look at different educational resources rather than financial advice to really, really get started, which is kind of what we're doing at the moment.
Yes.
Would you mind if this interview is recorded?
No, that's fine.
Awesome. Great. So then we're ready to get started, Kevin. Thank you.
Awesome. Kevin Green, thank you so much for joining us today. After being homeless at 19, today you're the number one private property owner in the UK. Author of the book, The Rich Rules. We've ordered it. We can't wait to get it. A self-made millionaire. You own your own bank and several other businesses. You're perhaps also a very successful wealth coach and a keynote speaker around the globe. And most importantly, you're a social entrepreneur dedicated to helping, and you're the ambassador of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Kevin, thank you so much for your time. How do you
No
have the
worries.
energy to do so many things with only 4 hours of sleep a night, Kevin?
I think when you're very excited about something, the energy comes, And I'm 52 now, and I suppose I kind of enjoy life. I'm doing things I love doing, and I think that helps as well. If you're passionate about what you do, and you make your life something that's a holiday, really, that you enjoy every second of it, then the energy naturally flows with you. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs similar to me who we're so excited about what we do that we don't need much sleep. It's the opposite to depression, really.
Wow.
A depressed person would need lots of sleep.
Yes.
A very happy person needs little sleep.
That's awesome. It's so inspirational to hear and to see, and it's great. And we've had several questions from different people who really want to get started in the investment game and just have no idea what. So if you were to go back to being 19 years old with no or little money, homeless, had a fallout with your father, and the only difference being that you have all the experience and knowledge that you have at the moment, but you're 19, systematically, what would you do?
I think at 19, the first thing is to target the people who are where I want to be.
Okay.
And it's basically what I did at the age of 36. I left it a bit late, but that's what I should have done at 19, and target the people and ask them questions. Because, like you've targeted me, the worst that somebody can say is, no, I won't do it, End of the day, most entrepreneurs will recognize that spark in the young people, and they will engage with them, and they'll give them tips and advice. And that's really what got me into a very strong position, is targeting the people who are where I want to be, not the people who are just talking about it, the people who are actually doing it. And taking on board those nuggets of advice and then working with them.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
would you say that that spark that you mentioned is the one common trait that will make people successful?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what your age you are, if you're a young person at 14 to 24 or older, you need to have that determination. I think a common element with a lot of us entrepreneurs is we've had pain in our life somewhere. Yeah, and that pain, we've wanted to deaden, if you like, by getting success. In my case, it was the death of my sister. And that's really strived me to achieve, I said to myself, she hasn't got those choices in life anymore because her life was taken. I have, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to waste any second of my time. And I think that's the kind of trigger you need. You need something that's going to spark you and be deep inside you that pushes you on. And that makes the difference between winning and maybe just being mediocre.
That's really interesting. Wow. And so what would you say that, do you think fear is what holds people back, or is it the lack of experience of pain in their life that would hold people back?
I think it's fear that holds people back, the fear of the unknown. You know, you don't have to have pain to become successful. It's just a fairly common element that we find. If you take Richard Branson, Richard's my mentor, and he felt put down at school because he's dyslexic, you know, and he wanted to prove himself despite being dyslexic. And you hear all sorts of stories like that. But I think the fear is the fear of the unknown. It might be linked to knowledge a little bit, because when you get more knowledgeable about your area, you get better informed by asking the right people. Then you get more confidence to drive forward. So I think, you know, it's definitely getting that knowledge in any way you can and get yourself up to speed is going to help you to overcome that fear. But the fear is always going to be there. It was there for me, you know. I think the way to deal with the fear bit really is to say, look, if I don't do this, what am I going to feel like in my rocking chair at the end of my life, you know? Am I going to be looking back with regret? And I certainly would have been if I hadn't had a go at things. So you have to have a go. It's better to have a go and fail than to not to do anything, because, you know, regret can eat your guts out, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And you don't want to be in that position at end of life. Get on and do it now.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's amazing advice. Sorry, you wanted to say
so something that you've said before is that I think after all of that, it's also about overcoming fear would have a lot to do with the self-belief and knowing that whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And that it is looking into the future. It's like, what am I going to fear more? The feeling of the fear that I have now or the fear of regret later on. So you said before that self-belief is the root of all outcome in your life. How do you build self-belief? So what are some rituals that someone can begin to apply to really, really build their self-belief and self-awareness?
There's only one way, as far as I'm concerned, it's by results. You can never have self-belief 100%. You can do all the rah-rah and chanting in the world, but unless you get results, you know, you ain't going to build it. So you have to start small with small business, get those results, and build that confidence and self-belief in yourself. And I know for me, I was very shy. I had a lack of self-belief. I wasn't confident, but that grew as my results grew. My outcomes in business got better. So work smart and get those results, and that will bring up that self-belief. That's all I can say. There's no other way I know of getting it long-term really inside you.
Results.
Amazing. You mentioned before the fear that's holding many people back, maybe the fear of failure. Have you had any major failure or any major challenges that you really had to push through?
Yeah, I've failed many times, you know, and I kind of want to get to the end result straight away, and sometimes I haven't looked at the detail enough, especially in human resources management. And it's something I've had to learn, you know. I used to manage dairy cows. Milking cows was easy because if you made the first cow go where you wanted it to go, all the others would follow, you know. But with people, it's a bit different. And I had to learn that to my cost, you know, that I've got to manage people properly. I can't expect everybody to be like me. You know, other people are all different. And that was a problem. And it did bring up this fear of failure in me. I think, damn, I failed again. You know, all those doubters out there saying I should get a proper job and not be an entrepreneur, they were right, you know, and that you're bound to get moments like that. But you've got to strive through it because, again, like I said in the last answer, I think you've got to put that fear then as something, and that fear and outcome as something that you don't want. You know, you don't want to be fearful in your later life because you haven't done something. Most people who have got this fear of failure are jealous of other people, they hate other people, and they bring other people down to justify their own position. And you'll find that a lot around you. If you're speaking to young people who are striving to succeed, they'll always get the doubters. I had it as well. I still get it, but I take no notice now. Where they say, don't do this, don't do that. It could even be your mum and dad sometimes, you know. And that really does sort of enhance that fear of failure in you because you think, oh, damn, you know, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm going to fail, you know, and you start doubting yourself. Well, my advice to people is never doubt yourself. Always trust your instinct because at the end of the day, you'll always be fine if you're following your true purpose. And that's a mantra of mine. I'll always be fine, whatever happens. And you always break through in the end, despite, what challenges are sent to you. And they are going to come because that's part of business.
I love that mantra that you'll always be fine. I think that's such a great and positive way to look into things, because worst comes to worst, you'll still be fine. I think there's a lot of power in that. As you mentioned before, young people, I think people are kind of confronted by really big life decisions when you're kind of going through your 20s and 30s and making up, okay, what is it that I want to do in this life? And I think many people seem to be in a dilemma. Do I follow money or do I follow passion? And that seems to be like a very obvious question and to a very obvious answer. But what would you recommend to someone in that dilemma?
I'd recommend that you look at many business options and decide whether, first of all, you like working with other people in groups and teams, or you like working alone, because that decision and outcome will shape what type of business you go into. Myself, I love working with people. That's why I love property, because it's all about people, If you don't like property, get into gold and silver, because you ain't got to deal with people there, So it's kind of really assessing yourself. I think one of the master keys to success is self-awareness, is getting to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you know what you want out of life. Because if you chase money, money will run away from you. You've got to choose a career path that you love, at the end of the day. And whether it's in a job or in a business, it doesn't matter. So I couldn't be in a job. I'd get frustrated, because I like to be a leader and I like to control. I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to control my own environment. And I've done that relatively well just by following a passion of working with people in something that I love, which is taking stinky, smelly houses, fixing them up and selling them to the English buyers, So it just gives me a buzz every day. We're actually, we've only got 2 more properties to buy before we've got 1,000. So since I spoke to you in Australia, quite aggressively in the last few days.
It's great because you completely smashed your goal of getting that for, I think it was 62 that you had said. So that's so great. I think that's such an inspiration, really. The 1,000 properties.
There was 2 parts to that goal, really, guys. One was to get the number of 1,000. And secondly, and most importantly, is to clear down the debt.
Yeah.
So we're at 18% gearing at the moment, which means, we're at a debt level of 18% of total worth. So we've got to get that 18% down next as well. And then happy days.
Amazing. So that was actually very interesting to hear you talking about clearing debt. Why do you choose to do that?
I choose to clear debt because of safety. That's the first thing. If you're too highly geared in any business and government regulation or intervention in the macro markets changes, well then, you could go bust in your business. So you never want to be too highly borrowed or too highly geared long term. And the second thing with property is when we clear down property debt, it increases cash flow. And I'd rather have fewer properties with big cash flow than a massive portfolio very highly geared, because it's too risky. And at the end of the day, cash flow is king. It's, as I sit here now on my decking at home in Wales, I've got money coming in every second as I speak, and I don't have to work for that. That's passive cash flow because I've cleared down that debt so much, the cash increases because we haven't got a property loan to pay anymore on that property, which potentially is the biggest deduction from the rent figure. So it's always been my focus is to clear down debt. For every property that I buy, I clear the debt by year 10. And in order to achieve that, I trade property a lot as well. I buy and sell a lot. And I use the profits to help to clear down that debt. Yes, I pay a lot of tax because I'm trading, and I pay tax on the trading. But at the end of the day, it puts me in a very, very strong position.
That's so interesting. And you've often said before as well that you should make money when you buy, in property especially. And a very popular property investment strategy in Australia is negative gearing. So, and speculating for capital growth. And obviously, I think that goes very much against everything you've just told us. What are your thoughts on negative gearing for property, for instance?
Well, I would run the other direction very fast. I absolutely will not do that. That's high-risk business, and it should not be done. And a lot of people in the Australian market, if they're doing that right now, I warn you, be careful, because the market's going to crash. And all the signs are there. So you could be holding a baby that's, going to pull you down, that property, because it's not going to be worth what you think it is. So be very careful. something's worth whatever people will pay for it. And when markets turn, people's perception as well pulls the market down. The house price to salary ratio in Australia at the moment is out of line. It's unaffordable. Salaries either have to rise or house prices have to drop. And it's happened in Europe, in the United Kingdom. It happens about every 18 years that a property crash comes. So, what goes up can come down, and people got to remember that. You're buying at the top of a peak at the moment. Arguably, it's leveled off a little bit in Australia, but the next prediction is it goes down within the next 18 months. So be very careful on that strategy. I certainly won't do it. I never buy for speculation. I buy for determined absolute outcomes, which I know the worst case and best case of.
Definitely.
Amazing. To come back on property, so obviously property is your favorite type of investment. Why was it property for you? What made you pick that type of asset?
When I took enough of a scholarship and I travelled the world, I interviewed some high achievers, and it included Sir Richard Branson. He wasn't a sir then, but it was Richard Branson, who was very wealthy. And it was Bill Gates of Microsoft and Mike Tilley, the then head of Merrill Lynch Investment Group worldwide. And when I listened to these people, they said the master key to success is getting to know who you are, is self-awareness. So I focused on that a lot. And as a result of that, I identified that I'm a control freak. I like people, and I like taking something and making it better, whether it's a business or a property. So the thought of taking something stinky and smelly, a property that you could walk into and it was dreadful, and turning that into a nice home for people to live, that really resonates with me. So that was the reason, principally, I went into property. Secondly, you have to own and control business to make the most money. And that was a clear message from all of my contacts. That's why I'm not a big fan of multi-level marketing or into business where somebody else owns it. I like to own and control. I am a bit of a control freak. I admit that, like I said earlier on, and I think most entrepreneurs are. And we like the feeling of owning and working the business. The more people you put between you and your business or your deal, the more risk you're bringing in at the end of the day. But if you're the chief executive of the company, ultimately the buck stops with you. And, I've just got a very big team of good people that work with me. We profit share on that, so everybody wins. But I own and control that property business, and that's the key at the end of the day. That's really what's made me the most money as well, because I own the equity. If you look at the difference between my debt level and the value of those properties, if I was to sell them all today, that's a massive figure, and that's a much bigger figure actually than the cash flow. So when you own and control, you've got two benefits. One is cash flow, and the second is the value of the business is yours, not anybody else's. You own it.
I love that, and I think that's such an easy way to have explained why property is such a great asset. And you've also spoken previously about you seem to like hard assets, so you also invest in gold and in silver. For someone who wanted to get started today, for instance, in this kind of market, would you recommend, or what do you think is a smart investment in terms of if you had to choose between one or the other, for instance?
Well, I do both, because they're both control assets and they both go up. They always keep property and precious metals, always keep ahead of inflation. So, on the long term, you're safe anyway, whatever happens. In the short term, if gold and silver obviously goes up and down, the trend is it always keeps at least ahead of inflation. I think to put it in a easy explained format, if you've got your assets in currency, i.e. you've got savings, you've got a pension plan, a TESA, an ISA, an endowment policy, where you've got your cash being controlled by somebody else, okay? Or it's in a bank and the bank's paying you a little bit of interest rate on it, you're an absolute idiot. That's the worst way for investment. And I tell you why, it's because currency devalues by the second. And it devalues even more when that country prints more money under quantitative easing. So if you've got currency as your core value, your core asset, it's going to devalue because of inflation, okay? And that's going to devalue day by day on average. If you take that money and you put it into property or into gold and silver, precious metals, platinum, then that's going to make that money a lot more secure for you. And you're taking out the cost of the fund managers, the bank. They always get paid first, The profits are coming back to you because you're owning and controlling that again. Because all the banks are doing I own a bank, so I know what I'm talking about. All the other banks are doing is they're taking your money, your savings, and they're either lending it out to somebody else for a higher fee than what they're paying you. So you get your 0 point something interest rate, 2% maximum in Australia if you're lucky.
Yes.
And then they lend that out at a higher rate, they make the money. Or they take that money and they put it into assets. And they have fund managers who put it into property, they put it into stocks and shares, Forex indices, gold and silver, to make more money. You know, why should you let them do that with your money? Do it yourself, because you can have the profits rather than the bank have them. Stop letting the banks get rich and greedy with your money. You know, control it yourself. And gold and property and silver, all the assets which are commodities, it works so well if you know what you're doing. And I suppose a tip I can give you with gold and silver, I like simple business. And I'm not a day trader. I don't buy and sell on the spot premium by day with gold and silver. I look at the longer term. And the one thing I focus on is the gold to silver ratio.
Yes.
I look in any country at how much an ounce of silver costs. You know, whether it's in Aussie dollars or it's in Sing dollars or it's a UK pound, the US dollar. We look at that price per ounce of silver. We then look at the price per ounce of the gold, and we divide the silver price into the gold price. And that's called the gold to silver ratio. Now, the amount of times that divides in gives us an indicator of whether silver or gold are over or undervalued compared to each other. And the ratio on a stable market relationship between gold and silver, I'm sorry to go a bit deep, but this is
this was amazing,
awesome.
please.
The ratio is 40. In a stable market, it's 40. So if gold rises and silver divides in more time, so the ratio becomes 50, 60, 70, then silver is technically undervalued. It has to catch up with gold. Okay? And in the crisis, the world market crisis we've had, you know, gold has increased on trend. Leveled off a little bit now, probably will increase again because it's a solid asset. And the world markets turn to precious metals as the safe commodity when currency starts going a bit bad, you know, as it's starting to happen in Australia. So with the ratio today, we take the ratio today, is 72 to 1. That means that silver divides into gold 72 times. That ratio last week was nearly 80 to 1. So silver's starting to gain some ground. It's starting to come up, reacting to the gold price, which has already risen. So my tip to you in answer to your question, I know I've explained it perhaps a little bit longer.
No, it's been a great explanation. Thanks, Kevin.
Yes.
Okay, my tip to you is to buy silver today. And buy silver, bullion bars or wafers, small wafers, not coins, because there's too much premium on the coins. When you buy it, it's a spot price plus a premium. And the traders make their money on the premium. It's a bit like, you know, the currency exchange desk in the airports. There's a buy price and a sell price. That's a premium. So the bigger weight you buy in a bullion bar, then the less the premium. And we deal with traders in Singapore who are very good. They're tight on their premium. And we're buying silver. I'm buying silver right now. And what I'll do when that silver price rises, I'll convert that silver into gold. And I'll hold it. Okay, because gold moves less in the fluctuations in the market than silver. And I want to bank it into gold. You understand? At the end of the day. So I own a lot of gold. And gold is different to property. It's a really nice second asset to have because you don't need a letting agent. You don't need to refurb and manage it. You know, it looks after itself. And you can cash that in and sell it whenever you want, you know, and you can have your money. So I love that market. You can probably tell. I love gold. I love silver. And for people watching, if you don't resonate with what I'm saying, just hold a gold bar in your hand, a 12.4 kilo gold bar, and you'll actually feel that positive energy coming off the bar. So if you're feeling a bit depressed one day, don't go and take antidepressant pills. Just hold a gold bar because the energy will make you feel good.
I believe you 100% in that.
Definitely.
I'm actually wearing gold earrings at the moment precisely for what you just said. It's like a feel-good energy for that reason. So that was a very, very deep explanation and something that I think our viewers and ourselves will learn a lot from. So thank you so much for that, Kevin.
You spoke a lot about why you love property, gold and silver, which for me, like, I completely resonate with that. I'm 100% going in for that. But for other people who are still unsure, you mentioned self-awareness as the best way to pick your assets, understanding yourself, knowing yourself. If you had any tip about that, what would it be about understanding, discovering that?
Yeah, the first thing, I'm a basic thinker and I'm a straight talker, as you know when we met before. If anybody's watched this clip this far, then they're very much into assets and into owning and controlling, because people that want to work for somebody else would have switched it off by now. You understand? So by virtue that you're still watching, that means you're an entrepreneur. And that's the first part to self-awareness. I am an entrepreneur. That means I want to own or expand my own business. And the next thing is, once you've determined that you are an entrepreneur, that's exactly what you want. And it's not easy, by the way. For those of you that think it's easy and a big, golden goose comes along and it drops the golden egg, it doesn't happen, okay? You've got to invest in yourself and learn this properly and learn from the right people, as I said earlier on. And it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of stress in the beginning, because things don't always go in the flow the way you think they will. People look at me and they go, oh, he's got lucky. No, it's hard work, okay? And I started from absolutely nothing. And the same for you, the same for the people watching here. Self-awareness is, first of all, you've got to be prepared to take on that hard work. Are you the type of person that's prepared to dig in and do that? And if you're not, get a job, because it's going to be better for you, Nothing wrong with a job, unless you're somebody like me, because job stands for just over broke. That's normally where it keeps you, I would never be in the position I'm in today if I had a job with somebody. I'm unemployable, because I like, and people will hopefully relate to this. I like the challenges of business, and I like, getting something which isn't working and making it work, whatever it be. And that's usually just by changing the management team. Business isn't complicated, it's people that complicate business. So through self-awareness of yourself, you kind of resonate with what I'm saying. You are number one, an entrepreneur. That's the first thing. Secondly, then, is what business are you going to get into? It doesn't have to be property, gold and silver. It can be anything. We have a big coaching business, and I love matching up the type of business with the personality type of that person. And we're all different, The last coaching I had, the lady loved creativity. And we opened up a wedding stationery business, which she's flying with already.
Amazing.
They've introduced it to royalty.
Wow.
Already. So it's not just about, what you know, it's who you know as well. Those connections matter.
Definitely.
But the most important point for her is, she's doing something that she absolutely loves. And she came to us wanting to do property. And we identified that her passion was more in creativity. She is going to bank some of her profits into the property market, to keep as a long-term investment. However, her frontline business is now the wedding stationery business. And, already she's got it up and running and the first customers are coming through. So she's excited, So it's identifying yourself, what are you good at? What are you bad at? What do you enjoy doing? What do you don't enjoy doing? And start then looking at other businesses. In my book, I've got 100 business ideas, and I put them in there for a reason. They're all different sectors of the business world. And some of those, there may be 3 or 4 out of that 100 where you say, yeah, I really love to do that. How do I do it is the next step, So once you identify that that's something you love doing, not you think you want to do, it comes from the heart instead of the head,
Yes.
It comes from inside you. It's something that resonates with you, gives you that good feeling. Then the next stage I do is imagine myself in that business in 5 years and 10 years' time. I can imagine myself doing the actual business, and I put myself there. I almost meditate, if you like, and chill out and put myself in that position. And I say to myself, what does this feel like? Does this feel good? If it feels good, that's my goal. You understand?
Yeah.
If I'm not sure, that's not an option, because I get all sorts of crazy ideas, and some of them aren't for me. And I always do that visualization, as some people call it, the feeling of being in that moment, in that future, and that works for me, and it works for a lot of my clients as well, in determining whether that's the right outcome or not, in that the path we should go down. Because you can do anything, The simple principles to getting success of business is always be led by the market. choose a business which is either a product or a service. It only falls into one of the two categories. And I've got both. Yeah. It's good to be in both asset classes. A product business, property, a service, lettings. We let and manage other people's properties as well. That's a service. So, you've always got the safety net of the more eggs in different baskets, if you like, rather than putting all your eggs in one basket and increasing the risk. So do try and spread your risk a little bit as well. It gets a bit exciting, but don't spread it too far. When I train people, they say, and I give them the business ideas, they want to do them all, you know what I mean? My advice is always choose 2 or 3 maximum, and do those very well, and then maybe move on to another one, because, especially men, we try to start something, and we want to start everything. We finish nothing.
I know.
Women tend to finish things a bit more, So we need to have that self-control as well and hold ourselves accountable to making sure that once we've chosen, then that we actually do it, because that makes a difference between, pushing the button and not doing much, and pushing the button and following through and getting the outcomes, So a rather long answer for you, but, it is a brilliant question, and it is the route to getting that success, is making sure, your self-awareness is very high. And we don't focus on who we are enough. We're always looking at other people, aren't we? And I was very guilty of that. So I wrote a whole report on it, did a whole scholarship, and, as to what was success. And the outcome was self-awareness is the master key. And, your readers are welcome to have that free of charge. If there's some way that you want to get that to them, I'm quite happy to give it to you.
That would be amazing.
Thank
and
you
we really
so much,
appreciate
Kevin.
that.
Definitely. So you've done so much, Kevin. I mean, you've accomplished a lot. I got tired just reading your introduction. There's so many different things. What's the next big challenge for you?
Well, I think there was one important element left out of the introduction, and that is I'm a successful father.
Yes.
And
of course.
To me, that's number one priority. And obviously, this is about business, but at the end of the day, your family comes first. And I think my focus has been, to look after the family. I've had 2 hours sleep last night because we drove up north, up to Leeds, which is 5 hours drive from where I'm sitting right now in West Wales. We, being myself and my 22-year-old daughter, and she's always had a passion to own a Mercedes SLK. And so yesterday or late last night, she realised that passion because she's worked really hard. She works in our business now, by the way. And she then earned enough money to buy a repossession Mercedes, because we actually buy repossession property and other assets like cars from the bank. And this one came onto our radar very quickly. We had to move fast, and it was a half price, nearly new Mercedes SLK. I've just put the pictures on Facebook, and it's a 250, the diesel version, and it's an AMG. It's got the sport pack on there. I love cars, okay? and my kids have inherited this trait. So it's not brand new. It's nowhere near full price. She's following all the rich rules in that she's making money when she buys. She sold that tomorrow. She'd make about £6,000.
That's
what's that, about 9,000 Australian dollars. So she's a very happy bunny this morning. She just passed by now, going on the way to work. So to me, that's what's important in the future is kids' happiness. I'm extremely happy. There's one thing missing in my life, which I identified. I've got 3 children, and they're 22, 20, and 18. And the last one was 18 in February. In fact, they're all born in February. Like I said, in Australia, I systemize everything. And the virtue, now that they're all grown up, they're all adults, now it's my time. And I got divorced some years ago because my wife didn't like the thought of property. She's sorry now, but didn't like the thought of property. So, we split, and she's a full-time property investor now. That's the funny thing. And we're great friends, But I haven't got a partner. And now I've been so much focusing on the family and the business and my donkeys, as you can probably see behind me, before myself, if you like, and sorting out my own personal situation. Now is my time. So that's my next goal.
Good on you.
And awesome. An odd answer. It's nothing to do with business. That bit's easy for me. It's my personal life is to find a lifelong partner and soulmate, and somebody who can put up with me first of all, because I'm quite I've got a handful as far as I'm always on the go, and I want somebody who's who's sparky and a soulmate, a best friend. So that's my goal, my short-term goal, and that will be realised. I know it. When you fully believe and you actually focus on something 100%, it happens. It's always happened to me. So watch this space.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely be curious as to when that happens. And it's great to hear that you're on a good mission. And we had one final question that we were both very curious about, and we kind of tried to guess what the answer would be, is that if Kevin Green had a superpower, what would that superpower be?
The superpower would be to wave a magic wand and turn all the Make-A-Wish children who have got life-threatening illness into very healthy beings. Because I work with them on a regular basis. I see the doctor's notes on how long those poor kiddies have got left to live. They've got terminal illness, and I want to stop that and turn it round and give those young people a full life. Remember that we're very fortunate. You know, we can push the button and we can make decisions and changes in our lives. Those young people cannot. They haven't got that option. Their life's been taken away. So I want to give them their life back, and I'd wave the wand to do that, like yesterday.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
So the power of healing almost, which I resonate with a lot, and I think it's such a great thing. So Kevin, thank you so much for your time. We've learned an incredible amount. It's been really, really wonderful. We cannot wait to receive your book, The Rich Rules, in the mail sometime next week. And we'll put the link to your book in the description of this video. For anyone that's interested in buying it, which would be amazing. And I just want to finish off today by saying that it's been an incredible joy to have this conversation with you, and we're so grateful, and just thank you so much for everything that you do and that you've taught us and that you aspire to do and to be. It's amazing. So we've really appreciated it, and have an amazing day.
Thank you both, and good luck with your businesses going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Bye.